Welcome to a deep dive into, this topic that has the whole science world talking. The 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry.
Yeah, it's really something.
We're going beyond just the headlines with this one, really trying to unpack why this year's prize is such a big deal.
Yeah, it's not just like one discovery or anything. It's really a fundamental shift in how we understand proteins, like the building blocks of life itself.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. We've got like official announcements from the award committee and then some really interesting insights from the American Chemical Society and even a deep dive on AlphaFold from Wikipedia. So clearly someone thinks this is important. But I guess before we get too far, could you maybe remind us why proteins even matter so much? I gotta say, high school biology feels like a long, long time ago.
Okay, so imagine proteins as these like microscopic machines that, they make life possible. Literally everything your body does, from digesting your lunch to thinking about what to have for dinner, relies on these tiny, tiny little workhorses. And like their function is all about their shapes, like their intricate 3D structure.
So it's kind of like how a key needs the exact right shape to fit into a lock.
Exactly. But that's the thing. For decades, figuring out a protein's 3D structure just from its list of, ingredients, its amino acid sequence, was a massive, massive scientific puzzle.
Yeah, our source from the ACS, they actually called it one of the biggest challenges in chemistry, which, that sounds pretty daunting. How did scientists even begin to tackle that?
Imagine trying to build like a really complex Lego model, but you can only see the list of pieces, not the instructions.
Oh,
So that's what these scientists were dealing with. They had to rely on these experimental methods, like X-ray crystallography, which is basically like taking a blurry photograph of the protein's shadow and then trying to just guess its actual shape. Time-consuming and expensive, doesn't even begin to describe it.
so enter this year's Nobel Prize winners, I guess. We've got David Baker, recognized for actually designing new proteins, which is crazy, and then Demis Hassabis and John Jumper, and they developed AlphaFold.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
AlphaFold is this AI developed by Google DeepMind, and it can actually predict protein structures with this crazy accuracy, sometimes even better than those painstaking experimental methods.
Okay, so it's like AlphaFold looked at enough of those blurry protein photographs that it just figured out how to predict the full 3D structure just from like the list of amino acids. Is that too simplistic?
No, you're on the right track. AlphaFold uses deep learning, which is the type of artificial intelligence. So think of it like this. Imagine showing a child thousands and thousands of pictures of cats and dogs. Eventually, they're going to be able to tell the difference, right? Even without, actually knowing the exact definition of cat or dog.
So AlphaFold did something similar, but with protein structures.
Exactly. It was trained on this massive database of known protein structures and their amino acid sequences, and over time, it learned to recognize patterns and relationships that humans might miss.
Okay, that's so cool. Our Wikipedia source actually mentioned that AlphaFold has gone through a bunch of versions, almost like it was evolving alongside the research, which is interesting.
It's true. So in 2018, the first version of AlphaFold, it won CASP, which is this big protein structure prediction competition.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like the Olympics for protein prediction. It was a promising start, but then AlphaFold 2 came out in 2020.
And it sounds like AlphaFold 2 kind of blew everyone away. What made it so much better?
So AlphaFold 2 is a massive leap forward. It wasn't just like slightly more accurate. Its predictions were like on par with the experimental methods, but significantly faster and more accessible.
So this wasn't just about winning science competitions anymore. This had real-world implications. Did DeepMind keep this a secret, or?
The opposite, actually.
Oh, wow.
They made AlphaFold 2's code freely available to the entire scientific community, and that's been a total game changer. Like, imagine giving a powerful new telescope to every astronomer on Earth. That's the kind of impact AlphaFold 2 has had.
I'm getting chills just thinking about that. But we're not done, are we? Wikipedia mentioned an AlphaFold 3.
Right. And it's not just a minor upgrade or anything. AlphaFold 3 actually tackles an even bigger challenge, predicting not just individual protein structures, but how they interact with like other molecules like DNA or RNA.
So instead of just knowing the shape of the key, now we're seeing how it interacts with the locks, like internal mechanisms.
A perfect analogy. And this is where the applications become even more mind-boggling, particularly in fields like medicine and drug discovery.
This is really making me think about the potential here. We're talking about like understanding the machinery of life at a whole new level.
Exactly. And this deeper understanding has some truly exciting applications. So one area where AlphaFold is already making waves is drug discovery.
Okay, so instead of randomly testing thousands of compounds, we can use AlphaFold to design drugs that are like pinpoint accurate.
Precisely. Imagine being able to visualize exactly how a drug molecule interacts with a protein, and then you can design these therapies that are way more effective and have way fewer side effects. That's the kind of precision medicine that AlphaFold could enable.
Yeah, it's like instead of shooting in the dark, we're now like equipped with night vision goggles or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. This level of insight, it isn't just about, developing new drugs. It's also about understanding why, existing drugs work for some people, but not others, And that paves the way for way more personalized treatment plans.
This is all starting to sound like science fiction, but I mean, it's really happening.
It truly is a remarkable time for scientific discovery.
Yeah.
And it's not just drug discovery. Think about diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or even cancers. A lot of these are linked to misfolded proteins, those tiny machines, that we talk about, just gone awry.
So with AlphaFold, we can actually see these misfolded proteins and understand how their structure causes problems and then potentially develop therapies to correct them.
Exactly. It's like having a detailed map of a city's traffic flow, right? You can pinpoint the bottlenecks, the areas where things are breaking down, and then boom, you can design solutions to get traffic moving smoothly again. In this case, AlphaFold is giving us that kind of map, but for the inner workings of our cells.
This is really making me think about that quote from one of our sources. I think it was a researcher who said, AlphaFold will change everything. At first, I thought that was maybe a little dramatic, but I'm starting to see what they meant.
It's a bold statement for sure, but there's definitely truth to it. And the applications extend way beyond just medicine, too. Think about enzymes, for example.
Oh, right. Enzymes are like nature's tiny catalysts, right?
Right.
They speed up chemical reactions, like the ones in our saliva that help break down food.
Precisely. And with AlphaFold, we can now engineer enzymes to perform very specific tasks. So want to break down pollutants in the environment, develop new biofuels, create entirely new materials. AlphaFold's giving us the tools to do all of that and more.
It's like we're being handed the instruction manual for building and manipulating the very building blocks of life.
In a way, yes. But with every, powerful tool, it's always important to acknowledge its limitations as well.
Right, because no technology is perfect. What are some of the challenges that AlphaFold still faces?
One thing to remember is that while AlphaFold is incredible at predicting the structure of individual proteins, most proteins don't actually exist in isolation. They're constantly interacting with other proteins and molecules in these really complex ways, forming these intricate networks. And AlphaFold is still catching up when it comes to predicting these more complex interactions.
So it's like having a detailed blueprint for every part of a car engine, but not necessarily knowing how to assemble the whole thing, or even how those parts actually work together in a running engine.
That's a great analogy. We're still in the early stages of really understanding this intricate dance of proteins within living cells, but AlphaFold is this powerful new tool to help us decode these complexities.
So a healthy dose of scientific rigor and cautious optimism are still warranted.
Absolutely. The beauty of science lies in its constant evolution. AlphaFold is a groundbreaking tool, no doubt, but it's just one step on a much, much longer journey of discovery.
And speaking of that journey, you mentioned earlier that even with AlphaFold's incredible success, the protein folding problem isn't fully solved. And I'm curious to dive deeper into that. So we're back, and you really got me thinking about the bigger picture with all this. You mentioned that even with all of AlphaFold's success, the protein folding problem still isn't fully solved. And honestly, that's kind of mind-blowing to me, considering everything we just talked about.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in all the excitement.
Yeah.
But you've hit on a really, really crucial point. So AlphaFold is incredible at predicting that final folded shape of a protein, right? But it's it's like looking at this finished origami figure. We can marvel at all the intricate folds and everything, but we don't actually know the exact sequence of steps that were taken to create it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we're kind of missing the how of the process. It's like the difference between knowing the answer to some math problem versus actually understanding all the steps that someone took to solve it.
Exactly. AlphaFold, through deep learning, it's become really good at recognizing patterns and making these predictions based on tons and tons of data.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily, actually replicate the dynamic, intricate process of protein folding as it actually happens in a living cell.
And knowing those steps, the how and the why of the folding process itself is important for what exactly?
Well, it's all about, unlocking a way, way deeper level of understanding.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to not just predict a protein shape, right?
Hmm.
But also like understanding how changes in its environment or even like tiny little mutations in its sequence
Hmm.
can influence how it folds and how it functions.
So it's like okay, it's like being able to predict not just if a bridge will stand, but also like how different weather conditions or even, the materials used to build it might affect like its stability over time.
Precisely. Understanding that protein folding process, like that could be the key to unlocking solutions to some of like the
Yeah.
biggest scientific puzzles out there. Like it could help us understand how proteins sometimes misfold, which leads to those diseases we talked about, like Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
Or it could even let us like actually design totally new proteins with totally unique properties, kind of like molecular architects designing these custom built like nanomachines.
Wow, that really paints a picture of a future where we're not just observing the machinery of life, but actually like understanding it and even like manipulating it at like a fundamental level.
So that's what's so exciting about all this. AlphaFold hasn't just given us like a bunch of answers. It's opened up this whole new world of questions and possibilities.
It's like we were just handed this incredible map, but now the real exploration can begin.
And who knows what amazing discoveries await us.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. We went from the basics of proteins to Nobel Prize winning AI to the honestly mind-boggling future of protein design. It's safe to say this is something we should all be keeping our eye on.
It definitely is. It's a really, really exciting time to be following science.
And until next time, keep those brains buzzing.